The wrong number texting me for years was my best friend's burner. The text that finally exposed everything came at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Sorry, wrong number again. But you seem cool. What's your name? I stared at my phone screen, heart pounding. I'd seen those exact words before, 3 years ago, when this whole mess started. But this time I was ready. This time I had proof. See, I'd been getting wrong number texts from someone who claimed to be Jake, then Marcus, then Tyler over the years. Always apologetic at first, always curious about my life. The conversations would start innocent enough, meant to text someone else about weekend plans, but somehow always evolved into deep talks about relationships, dreams, fears. These mystery texters knew exactly what to say when I was feeling lonely. They'd flirt just enough to keep me interested, then vanish whenever I suggested meeting up. Tonight's text came from a fourth number, 555-0847. But I recognized the typing style immediately. The way they wrote seemed cool instead of you're cool. The exclamation point followed by a question mark. My stomach dropped because I'd seen this pattern before, in text from my best friend Sarah. Sarah, who'd been my closest friend since college. Sarah, who I told everything to, including how much these random wrong number conversations meant to me during my loneliest moments. Sarah, who always seemed to know exactly when I was talking to someone new and would mysteriously show up looking stunning whenever I had dates planned. My hands shook as I scrolled through 3 years of screenshots I'd kept because the conversations felt too meaningful to delete. Jake's messages about feeling misunderstood. Marcus asking about my job at the marketing firm downtown, details I'd never shared with him, but had definitely mentioned to Sarah. Tyler's uncanny ability to text me right after bad dates, offering comfort that felt too perfectly timed. But here's what made my blood run cold. I'd never told Sarah about tonight's new message. It had literally just arrived. Yet somehow, this Tyler person already knew I'd had a rough day at work, asking if I was okay because I seemed stressed lately. The only person who knew about my stress was Sarah. Sarah, who I'd vented to over dinner 3 hours ago about my boss being impossible and my dating life being a disaster. I opened my laptop and started cross-referencing phone numbers with the screenshots. My detective work led me down a rabbit hole that made me physically sick. The timing of these mystery conversations perfectly aligned with my real dating attempts. Every time I mentioned meeting someone promising to Sarah, one of my wrong number friends would suddenly become more attentive, more flirtatious, keeping me emotionally occupied. And the guys I dated? The ones who Sarah always seemed to run into at coffee shops or parties right after our dates went badly? I started connecting dots I'd been too trusting to see before. Like David from 2 months ago. I told Sarah how sweet our first date was, how excited I felt. The next day, Marcus had texted me some elaborate story about his ex-girlfriend, keeping me distracted with relationship advice. Meanwhile, Sarah conveniently bumped into David at his gym, the same gym I'd mentioned he went to, and they'd been Instagram official for 3 weeks now. My phone buzzed again. Another text from 555-0847, hope you're not mad I keep accidentally texting you. You give great advice, smiling face with smiling eyes. This time, instead of falling for it, I felt something cold settle in my chest. Because I finally understood that my best friend had been playing puppet master with my heart for 3 years, and I had the screenshots to prove it. I couldn't sleep, so I spent the next 4 hours doing something that would have made my digital forensics professor proud. I created a spreadsheet, color-coded, cross-referenced, absolutely damning. Column A, dates I told Sarah about upcoming plans or guys I was interested in. Column B, timestamps of when my wrong number friends became suddenly chatty or dramatic. Column C, when Sarah mysteriously encountered these same guys. Column D, when those guys either ghosted me or became distant. The pattern was so obvious I felt like an idiot for missing it. Take Josh from last October. I'd gushed to Sarah about our amazing chemistry during trivia night. Within 6 hours, Jake was texting me about his complicated feelings for some girl, monopolizing my attention for the entire next day. While I was playing therapist to my fake friend, Sarah was apparently sliding into Josh's DMs. She'd later told me she randomly met him at Target. But the spreadsheet revealed something worse than just stolen dates. Sarah had been systematically destroying my confidence. Every time I mentioned feeling good about myself, a promotion at work, a successful presentation, even just having a good hair day, one of my mystery texters would have some crisis that required hours of emotional support. I'd end up drained, forgetting whatever small victory I'd wanted to celebrate. The cruelest example was from December 15th last year. I texted Sarah about finally feeling ready to put myself out there again after a rough breakup. That same evening, Tyler sent me a long message about how his friend had been cheated on, going into graphic detail about the betrayal. He'd asked if I thought people could really trust each other, if love was even real. I'd spent the entire night reassuring him while my own optimism crumbled. 3 days later, Sarah started dating Alex, a guy I'd matched with on Hinge but never met because I was too emotionally exhausted from Tyler's crisis. At 6:23 a.m., my phone lit up again. Sarah calling. Morning sunshine. Want to grab coffee before work? I have tea to spill about last night. Her voice was bright, cheerful. The same voice that had comforted me through countless nights of loneliness that she'd orchestrated. What happened last night? I asked, my voice carefully neutral. Oh my god, the weirdest thing. Some random number kept texting me by mistake. Super awkward conversations about relationship stuff. Made me think about how lucky we are to have real friendship, you know? My heart stopped. She was testing me. Seeing if I'd gotten the texts too, or if I'd mentioned anything. This was her checking if her latest burner phone experiment was working. That is weird, I managed. What kind of relationship stuff? Just some lonely person looking for connection, I think. Kind of sad, actually. Made me grateful for people like you in my life, people who are genuine. The word genuine coming from her mouth made my stomach turn. But her casual mention of the texts confirmed everything. She was 555-0847. She was all of them. Coffee sounds great, I heard myself saying. Actually, I have something kind of crazy to tell you too. About those wrong number texts I've been getting. Really? Her voice pitched higher with what I now recognized as fake curiosity. What about them? I think I might have figured out who's been sending them. The pause that followed lasted exactly 4 seconds. Long enough for me to know that Sarah was calculating, trying to figure out how much I knew and what her next move should be. Oh wow, really? That's so exciting. I can't wait to hear everything. But there was something else in her tone now, something sharp hiding under the enthusiasm. She was worried. Good. She should be. We met at our usual spot, Grind Coffee on 5th Street, the place where we'd shared 3 years of what I thought were genuine heart-to-hearts. Sarah arrived first, already claiming our corner table, looking effortlessly put together in her cream sweater and perfect messy bun. The same look that had probably caught David's attention at his gym. You look tired, she said, standing to hug me. Rough night? Something like that. I sat across from her, noting how she immediately leaned forward with eager eyes. The same expression she'd worn every time I'd confided about my mystery texters. I'd mistaken it for caring. Now I recognized it as hunger. She was feeding off my confusion. So tell me about these wrong number texts, Sarah said, wrapping her hands around her lavender latte. You said you figured out who's sending them? I pulled out my phone slowly, watching her face. It's the strangest thing. Last night I got another one, from a new number this time. But Sarah. I paused, letting her name hang in the air. The person knew things. Personal things I'd never told any of my mystery texters. Like what? Her voice stayed light, but I caught the tiny muscle twitch near her left eye. Like how stressed I've been at work lately. But I've only mentioned that to you. Sarah's laugh sounded forced. Maybe you posted about it somewhere? Social media? You know how much information people can gather these days. I checked. Nothing on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. The only person I told was you, last night at dinner. I opened my Photos app, scrolling to the screenshot I'd taken at 2:47 a.m. Want to see the message? Of course. This is like a real-life mystery. I turned my phone toward her, watching her eyes scan the text. Her face stayed perfectly composed, but her fingers tightened around her coffee cup. Weird coincidence, she said after a moment. But you know, work stress isn't exactly uncommon. Lucky guess? Maybe. But there's more. I swiped to another screenshot. This one's from 3 months ago. Marcus asking about my job at the marketing firm downtown. But Marcus and I had been texting for weeks, and I'd never mentioned where I worked. Sarah's eyebrows furrowed in what looked like concern. That is weird. Did you reverse look up the numbers? I tried, but they're all burner phones. Untraceable. I watched her shoulders relax slightly at this news. But then I realized I was approaching this wrong. Instead of trying to figure out who these people were, I should figure out who had access to the information they somehow knew. Smart thinking. Sarah took a long sip of her latte, buying herself time. And? Well, that's when it got really interesting. I pulled up my notes app, where I'd summarized my findings. I made a timeline. Every single time one of my mystery friends reached out, it was within hours of me telling someone specific information. Information that later showed up in their messages. Someone you know is selling your data? That's terrifying. Not selling. Someone I trust. Someone I tell everything to. I looked directly at her. Someone who would know exactly what to say to keep me emotionally unavailable when good guys came along. The color drained from Sarah's face, but she recovered quickly. Emma, that's a serious accusation. Are you saying you think someone in your life is deliberately? I'm not accusing anyone yet, I interrupted. But I have a plan to find out for sure. What kind of plan? I leaned back, studying her face. I'm going to feed different information to different people in my life. See which details show up in my next wrong number conversation. Process of elimination. Sarah's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. That seems, elaborate. Maybe you're overthinking this? Maybe. But wouldn't you do the same thing if someone had been messing with your head for 3 years? Her phone buzzed on the table. Without thinking, she glanced at it, and I caught a glimpse of the notification preview. Message failed to deliver. My blood turned to ice. Because I knew exactly which message had failed to deliver, the one I'd tried sending to 555-0847 20 minutes ago, right before walking into the coffee shop. Sarah's phone. Sarah's failed message notification. Sarah's burner phone sitting right there in her purse. She looked up to find me staring at her phone, then at her face. For one horrible, crystal clear moment, we both knew that I knew. Emma, she started. Don't. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Just, don't. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Sarah's hand slowly moved to cover her phone, but it was too late. I'd seen enough. How long have you known? She asked finally, her voice stripped of all pretense. Since 2:47 a.m. I pulled up the screenshot again, but this time I swiped past it to show her something else, a photo I'd taken of her phone last week when she'd left it on my counter. Her lock screen had shown a text notification from the same number that Marcus had been using. I'd thought nothing of it at the time, assuming it was spam. I've actually had proof for days. I just didn't want to believe it. Sarah's perfect composure cracked. Her hand started shaking, and she set down her coffee cup before she could spill it. Emma, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain why my best friend has been catfishing me for 3 years? My voice was getting louder, and the couple at the next table glanced over. I lowered it to a harsh whisper. Can you explain why you've been stealing my dates? Sabotaging my relationships? Playing with my emotions like I'm some kind of toy? It wasn't supposed to go this far. Tears were forming in her eyes, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no urge to comfort her like I had countless times before. It started as just, I don't know, curiosity? You got that first wrong number text from someone trying to reach their ex, and you were so excited about it. You kept talking about this mysterious Jake person like he was some kind of soulmate. So you decided to become him? I wanted to see what was so special about some random stranger that had you more interested than any of the real guys you've been dating. Her voice was getting defensive now, which somehow made it worse. I was protecting you, Emma. Do you know how many creeps could have been behind those texts? At least with me, I knew you were safe. Safe? I stared at her incredulously. You call systematically destroying my self-esteem keeping me safe? You call stealing David, and Josh, and Alex keeping me safe? Those guys weren't right for you anyway. That wasn't your decision to make. The words exploded out of me, and several people turned to stare. I forced myself to speak quieter. You don't get to decide who's right for me. You don't get to manipulate me into being alone just because what? Why, Sarah? Why would you do this? She was crying now, mascara starting to smudge under her eyes. Because you were slipping away. You were getting serious about dating again, talking about wanting to find someone to settle down with. I could see it happening. You'd meet some guy, fall in love, and then what? Girls' nights would turn into double dates. Our weekend trips would include boyfriends. You'd get engaged, married, have kids, and I'd become the single friend you see twice a year. So you decided to keep me single instead? I decided to keep us close. The guys you dated, they weren't planning to stick around anyway. David told me on our second date that he thought you were nice but boring. Josh said you seemed desperate. I saved you from getting hurt by them. By stealing them yourself? By showing you who they really were. Guys who could be swayed that easily weren't worth your time. I felt like I was looking at a stranger wearing Sarah's face. And the emotional manipulation? The fake crises right when I was feeling good about myself? How does that fit into your protection plan? She wiped her nose with the back of her hand. You get manic when you're too confident. You make bad decisions, go out with anyone who asks. The texting helped you process things first. Manic? The word hit me like a slap. I get manic when I'm happy? I didn't mean. Yes, you did. I started gathering my things, my hands shaking with rage. You absolutely meant that. You think so little of me that you believe I can't handle my own emotions, my own relationships, my own life. Emma, please don't go. We can work through this. I stood up, slinging my purse over my shoulder. No, we can't. Because I finally understand what you've been doing. You haven't been protecting me, Sarah. You've been protecting yourself. From the possibility that I might not need you anymore. Where are you going? I looked down at her tear-streaked face and felt absolutely nothing. To fix the damage you've done. Starting with David. I walked out of Grind Coffee feeling like I was moving through water. Everything looked the same, the familiar street corners, the morning commuters clutching their phones, the homeless man who always sat by the bus stop, but I felt like I was seeing it all from inside a snow globe someone had violently shaken. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely unlock my phone to call in sick to work. There was no way I could sit through marketing meetings and pretend to care about quarterly projections when my entire friendship had just revealed itself to be an elaborate lie. But as I stood on the sidewalk trying to process what had just happened, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, 555-0918. Hey. I think you have my jacket from last night? Black leather, left it at Murphy's bar? For a split second, my brain went to its default setting, polite confusion about another wrong number. Then ice ran through my veins. I hadn't been to Murphy's bar in over a month. But last night at dinner, I told Sarah about considering going there this weekend because they had live music. She was still doing it. Even after being caught, even after our confrontation 20 minutes ago, Sarah was testing a new burner number to see if I'd take the bait. I screenshot the message and typed back, sorry Sarah. Game's over. The response came within seconds, from her real number this time, please don't do anything stupid. Can we talk more tonight? I'll explain everything properly. Then another text, I know you're hurt but don't let anger make you burn bridges with people who actually care about you. People who actually care. The audacity made my vision blur with rage. I called David before I could lose my nerve. He answered on the second ring, sounding slightly confused. Emma? Hey, everything okay? David, this is going to sound insane, but I need to ask you something about Sarah. Sarah? Your friend Sarah? What about her? I took a shaky breath. When you first met her, did she mention me at all? Like, did she tell you we were friends? There was a pause. Actually, yeah. She said she knew you, but that you'd probably be weird about us dating because you had a tendency to get jealous when your friends found happiness. My stomach dropped. She said that? She seemed really concerned about protecting your feelings. Said you'd been struggling with some mental health stuff and that seeing happy couples sometimes triggered episodes. Episodes. I repeated the word flatly. Look, I didn't want to bring it up, but it kind of made sense after our date. You seemed really distracted, kept checking your phone. Sarah said you probably had one of your anxiety spirals happening. I closed my eyes, remembering that night. I'd been distracted because Marcus had been texting me about his panic attacks, asking for advice about therapy. I'd spent half our dinner typing responses under the table, trying to help my fake friend through his fake crisis. David, Sarah has been lying to both of us. She's been catfishing me for 3 years using burner phones, pretending to be different guys. She sabotaged our connection by keeping me emotionally occupied while she pursued you herself. Silence. Then, what are you talking about? I have proof. Screenshots, phone records, everything. She's been manipulating both of us. Emma, that's... He sounded genuinely concerned. That's a really serious accusation. Are you sure you're thinking clearly right now? And there it was, Sarah's poison working exactly as intended. She preemptively painted me as unstable, so anything I said would sound like the ravings of a jealous, mentally unwell friend. I'm thinking perfectly clearly, I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. But I understand if you can't believe me right away. Just, pay attention to how much Sarah knows about your conversations with other people. Notice how she always seems to show up right when you need comfort. Ask yourself if that's coincidence. After I hung up, I sat in my car staring at my phone. Sarah had been more thorough than I'd realized. She hadn't just stolen my dates, she'd systematically destroyed my credibility with them first. But I had one advantage she didn't know about. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake, my coworker from 2 jobs ago who I'd recently reconnected with. Coffee later? I have updates on that digital forensics project I mentioned. Jake worked in cybersecurity now. And he owed me a favor from when I'd covered for him during his messy divorce last year. Time to fight fire with fire. Jake met me at a 24-hour diner across town, sliding into the booth with his laptop bag and the kind of tired eyes that came from staring at code for 12 hours straight. You sounded rattled on the phone, he said, ordering black coffee from our server. What's going on? I pulled out my phone and showed him everything, the screenshots, my spreadsheet, the timeline I'd created. His expression grew darker as I explained about Sarah's 3-year deception. Jesus, Emma. This is some next-level psychological manipulation. He opened his laptop, fingers already flying across the keyboard. You said you have the phone numbers? I rattled off all 4 numbers I'd been texted from. Jake's screen filled with code I couldn't understand, but I could see him cross-referencing databases and running searches. Okay, here's what I can tell you immediately, he said after 20 minutes. All 4 numbers were purchased from the same prepaid carrier, paid for with gift cards bought at CVS locations within 3 miles of Sarah's apartment. The timing of the purchases matches exactly with when your new wrong number friend started texting you. Can you trace the gift card purchases? Already did. 3 of them were bought at the CVS on Maple Street, literally 2 blocks from where Sarah works. The 4th one. He frowned at his screen. This is interesting. The most recent one was purchased yesterday at 6:47 p.m. My blood ran cold. Yesterday? But I just got the first text from that number last night. Which means she bought a new burner phone specifically for last night's conversation. This wasn't some old number she had lying around, Emma. She actively prepared for another round of manipulation. The server refilled our coffee, and I wrapped my hands around the warm mug to stop them from shaking. There's more, Jake. She's been telling the guys I dated that I'm mentally unstable. David basically said she warned him I get episodes when my friends are happy. Jake's jaw tightened. She's covering her tracks. Making sure that if you ever tried to expose her, you'd sound like the crazy ex-friend. He turned his laptop screen toward me. But here's something she didn't count on. I can pull metadata from these text messages, timestamps down to the second, cell tower locations when they were sent, even deleted drafts. Deleted drafts? Oh yeah. Your friend Sarah isn't as tech-savvy as she thinks. Look at this. He pulled up a data file that made my head spin. On March 15th, Tyler sent you that long message about trust and betrayal, remember? The one that kept you up all night? I nodded, remembering how devastated I'd felt after that conversation. She wrote 17 different versions of that message. I can see all the drafts she deleted, including one where she accidentally typed remember when we before catching herself and starting over. She almost slipped and revealed she actually knew you. My stomach lurched. She was workshopping how to hurt me. Gets worse. Look at the timestamps. Jake highlighted a section of data. She was texting you as Tyler while simultaneously posting Instagram stories from her date with Alex. She was literally ruining your night while documenting her own romantic success. The cruelty was breathtaking. I thought about all the nights I'd stayed up comforting my fake friends, all the dates I'd canceled because I was too emotionally drained, all the times I'd wondered if something was wrong with me that I could only connect with people through wrong numbers. Jake, I need more than just proof she's been catfishing me. I need proof she's been sabotaging my actual relationships. Way ahead of you. He pulled up what looked like social media analytics. I did some digging on her Instagram activity. Every guy you've mentioned dating in the past 3 years? She looked them up on social media within hours of you telling her about them. Not just casual profile views, deep dives. Going back months through their photos, checking their tagged locations, looking up their friends. How can you see that? Let's just say her privacy settings aren't as tight as she thinks. Jake's smile was grim. But here's the smoking gun, she's been using a location spoofing app on her phone. What does that mean? Remember how she kept randomly running into your dates at their gyms, coffee shops, whatever? She was using an app that let her fake her GPS location to match theirs on social media check-ins. She could see where they were in real time and show up like it was coincidence. The diner suddenly felt too small, too hot. I'd trusted Sarah with everything, my work stress, my family drama, my deepest insecurities about relationships. And she'd weaponized every piece of information against me. There's one more thing, Jake said quietly. I checked her recent activity. As of this morning, she's already looked up 3 new guys from your Hinge matches. Including someone named Ryan who apparently super liked you yesterday. I grabbed my phone and opened Hinge. There he was, Ryan, 26, software engineer with kind eyes and a profile that mentioned loving hiking and rescue dogs. We'd matched yesterday afternoon, right after my dinner with Sarah where I'd mentioned wanting to try dating apps again. And according to Jake, Sarah was already researching her next victim. Jake, I said, staring at Ryan's profile, I need you to help me catch her in the act. He raised an eyebrow. What kind of help? The kind that might get us both in trouble. I screenshotted Ryan's profile and sent it to myself. But I'm done being Sarah's victim. I want to flip the script. Jake leaned back in the booth, studying my face. You want to set a trap. Exactly. But I need to be smart about it. I pulled out a notebook and started sketching out a plan. Sarah's weakness is that she thinks she's the only one who can play games. She's gotten sloppy because I've been predictable for 3 years. What are you thinking? I'm going to tell Sarah about Ryan tonight, make it seem like I'm really excited about him. But here's the twist, I'm going to give her false information about where he'll be this weekend. Jake's eyes lit up with understanding. So when she shows up at the wrong location, I'll be at the right one, with Ryan, having already told him the whole story. I felt a surge of energy for the first time in hours. If she's been tracking locations through social media, she'll expect him to check in somewhere. But what if he checks in exactly where I told her he'd be, while actually being somewhere else entirely? You'd need him to cooperate. That's a big ask for someone you haven't even met yet. Then I better make a good first impression. I opened Hinge and started typing a message to Ryan. Hey. Love your profile. This might sound crazy, but would you be up for coffee this afternoon? I have the weirdest story to tell you, and I could use a software engineer's perspective on some digital detective work. Jake watched me hit send. You're really doing this. Sarah's been playing chess while I thought we were playing checkers. Time to show her I can learn the game. My phone buzzed with Ryan's response, intrigued and free at 3 p.m. Grind coffee on 5th Street work? I almost laughed at the irony. Actually, let's try Brew House on Park Avenue instead. More private. As we confirmed plans, Jake was still typing on his laptop. Emma, there's something else you should know. I dug deeper into Sarah's phone records, and she's been doing this longer than 3 years. My blood chilled. What do you mean? I found records going back to college. Different numbers, but same purchasing patterns, same carriers. Jake's face was grim. She's been catfishing people since sophomore year. You're not her first victim. Who else? Remember Rachel Morrison from your dorm? The girl who transferred junior year after that weird stalking situation? Rachel. Quiet, sweet Rachel who'd been getting increasingly disturbing messages from someone who seemed to know intimate details about her life. She'd been convinced someone from school was harassing her, but could never prove who. Eventually the stress got so bad she transferred to a school in another state. Oh my god, I whispered. Sarah drove Rachel away. Gets worse. I found a pattern with 3 other girls from your social circle over the years. All of them reported feeling like they were being watched, manipulated, or emotionally toyed with. All of them eventually distanced themselves from the group. The scope of Sarah's manipulation was staggering. She's been systematically removing anyone she saw as competition for my attention. Or anyone who might have figured out what she was doing. Jake closed his laptop. Emma, this isn't just about stolen boyfriends. Sarah's been isolating you for years, making sure you be completely dependent on her for emotional support. I thought about my social circle, how small it had become. How many girls' nights had been cancelled because something came up for various friends? How many group chats had I been mysteriously left out of? I blamed it on people growing apart after college, the natural drift of adult friendships. But what if it wasn't natural at all? My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, thinking about our talk this morning. I know I messed up, but please don't do anything rash. You're the most important person in my life, Emma. I can't lose you. I showed the message to Jake. She's scared. Good. Scared people make mistakes. He stood up, shouldering his laptop bag. I'll keep monitoring her digital activity. If she so much as Googles Ryan's name, I'll know about it. Thank you, Jake. I owe you big time. Just promise me you'll be careful. Someone who's been manipulating people for this long won't go down without a fight. As I walked to my car, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, complete clarity about who I could trust. It wasn't the person who'd been my maid of honor at my sister's wedding. It wasn't the person I'd called when my dad had his heart attack. It was someone who'd spent his Saturday helping me uncover the truth, asking for nothing in return except the promise that I'd protect myself. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like I was the one holding all the cards. I spent the hour before meeting Ryan rehearsing how to explain the situation without sounding completely unhinged. How do you tell a stranger that your best friend has been orchestrating an elaborate psychological campaign against you for 3 years? How do you ask someone you've never met to help you catch a manipulator in the act? Ryan was already waiting when I arrived at Brew House, easy to spot from his photos, tall, dark hair, wearing the same blue Henley from his second Hinge picture. He stood when he saw me, extending his hand with a nervous smile. Emma? I have to admit, your message was the most interesting opening line I've gotten on a dating app. Thanks for agreeing to meet on such short notice. I slid into the booth across from him, noting how he'd chosen a corner table away from other customers. Good instincts. I know this is unconventional, but I really need an objective perspective on something, and your tech background might help. I'm intrigued. And slightly concerned. Ryan signaled the server for coffee. But mostly intrigued. I pulled out my phone, showing him the spreadsheet Jake had helped me refine. For the past 3 years, my best friend has been catfishing me using burner phones. She's been posing as different guys, gathering information about my dating life, and then using that intel to sabotage my relationships and steal the guys I was interested in. Ryan's eyebrows shot up. Wow. Okay. How did you figure it out? I walked him through everything, the timing patterns, the failed message notification, the metadata Jake had uncovered. Ryan listened without interruption, his expression growing more serious as the story unfolded. This is incredibly sophisticated psychological manipulation, he said when I finished. And you have proof of all this? Screenshots, phone records, location data. Everything. I hesitated, then decided to trust him completely. But here's why I really asked you here. She's already researching you. What do you mean? My friend Jake, he's in cybersecurity, tracked her digital activity. As of this morning, she'd already deep dived your social media profiles. She knows where you work, where you went to college, probably where you live. Ryan set down his coffee cup harder than necessary. She looked me up? We just matched yesterday. That's her pattern. The moment I tell her about someone new, she starts gathering intelligence. Then she orchestrates a way to randomly meet them. I showed him photos from her Instagram. This is David, this is Josh, this is Alex. All guys I went on first dates with who ended up with her instead. Jesus. Ryan scrolled through the photos, his jaw tightening. They all looked pretty happy with her. Because she knew exactly what to say to them. She had inside information about their interests, their insecurities, their relationship history. Information I'd gathered during our dates and then innocently shared with my best friend. So what's your plan? You mentioned wanting help with detective work? I took a deep breath. I want to set a trap. Tonight, I'm going to tell Sarah that you and I are planning to meet for drinks tomorrow night at Murphy's Bar on State Street. I'll make it sound like I'm really excited about you, maybe even mention some fake detail about your job or hobbies to make you seem irresistible. And then? Then we see if she shows up at Murphy's tomorrow night, armed with the perfect conversation starters to sweep you off your feet. Ryan leaned back, processing. But I won't actually be there. Exactly. You'll be somewhere else entirely, somewhere I haven't told her about. If she shows up at Murphy's looking for you, we'll have proof of her MO. What if she doesn't take the bait? Then I'll know she's getting suspicious and I need to try a different approach. I met his eyes. Look, I know this is a lot to ask. We literally just met, and I'm already dragging you into some seriously twisted drama. If you want to run screaming, I completely understand. Ryan was quiet for a long moment, staring at his coffee. Then he looked up with something like determination in his eyes. My sister went through something similar in college. Different situation, but same kind of psychological manipulation from someone she trusted. It nearly destroyed her. He pulled out his phone. What do you need me to do? Relief flooded through me. Just be yourself tomorrow night. Pick somewhere you'd actually want to go, and I'll meet you there. We'll have a normal first date while Sarah sits alone at Murphy's bar, wondering where her research went wrong. And after we catch her? Then, I said, feeling that familiar surge of clarity, we burned her whole operation down. Ryan and I finalized our counter-surveillance plan over a second round of coffee. He'd check into Murphy's bar on Instagram at exactly 7 p.m. tomorrow night, using location spoofing, ironically the same trick Sarah had been pulling, while actually meeting me at Riverside Brewing across town. If Sarah showed up at Murphy's looking for him, Jake would be there to document everything from a corner booth. This feels like we're planning a heist, Ryan said, adding his real number to my phone. But honestly, after hearing what she did to you, I'm kind of excited to help take her down. I was walking to my car when my phone rang. Sarah again. Hey, where are you? I came by your apartment but you weren't home. She'd come by my apartment? My stomach nodded. I'm running errands. Why? I keep thinking about this morning. I know you're angry, but I need you to understand that everything I did came from love. You're my person, Emma. You're my family. The word family made my chest tight. Because that's what I thought we were. For 7 years, Sarah had been my emergency contact, my +1 to every wedding, the person I called when I was too sick to take care of myself. Sarah, I need some space right now. Space from me, but not from random guys on dating apps? Her tone shifted, getting sharper. I saw that you matched with someone new yesterday. Ryan? Really, Emma? A software engineer who lists hiking as a personality trait? My blood turned to ice. I hadn't told her about Ryan yet. Which meant she was actively monitoring my Hinge activity in real time. How do you know about Ryan? You left your phone unlocked at dinner yesterday. I saw the notification. The lie came so smoothly I almost believed it. Emma, please don't use some rebound guy to avoid dealing with our friendship. Is that what you think this is? A rebound friendship crisis? I think you're hurt and not thinking clearly. Starting something with a stranger right now isn't healthy. I wanted to scream. Even caught red-handed, she was still trying to control my dating life, still positioning herself as the voice of reason. Actually, Ryan and I are having drinks tomorrow night, I heard myself saying. Murphy's bar at 7. He seems really sweet. The pause lasted exactly 3 seconds. Murphy's? That place is so loud, you won't be able to have a real conversation. He suggested it. Apparently he loves their craft beer selection. I was making this up on the spot, but Sarah was already taking mental notes. Plus he mentioned he might stop by after his rock climbing session at that new gym on State Street. Another lie, but I watched Sarah's wheels turning through the phone. Rock climbing gym. State Street. Murphy's bar. She was cataloging every detail. Well, just be safe. And maybe don't drink too much? You get chatty when you're nervous, and guys can misinterpret that. There it was again, the subtle undermining disguised as concern. How many years had I internalized her suggestions that I was too eager, too available, too much? I'll keep that in mind, I said evenly. I should go. Talk tomorrow? Of course. Love you, M. She hung up before I could not say it back. I sat in my car, hands shaking with adrenaline. Jake was right, Sarah was scared. Scared enough to risk monitoring my dating apps. Scared enough to show up at my apartment uninvited. And now, if our plan worked, she'd be scared enough to make the kind of desperate mistake that would finally expose her to everyone. My phone buzzed with a text from Ryan, just thought of something. What if she approaches me at Murphy's? Should I pretend not to know who she is? I smiled as I typed back, oh, she'll definitely approach you. And when she does, you'll have the perfect opportunity to mention how excited you are for our second date on Sunday. The beauty of fighting someone who'd been playing chess for 3 years? Eventually, they forget that other people can learn the rules too. That evening, I sat in my apartment crafting the perfect text to Sarah. Something that would seem natural but contain enough bait to ensure she'd take action. Update on Ryan's situation, he just asked me out for tomorrow night. Murphy's bar at 7. I'm actually nervous, haven't felt this excited about someone in forever. He's picking me up from that rock climbing gym on State Street after his workout. Apparently he's been climbing for years and wants to show me pictures of some crazy mountain he scaled last summer. Why are outdoorsy guys so attractive? Grinning face with sweat. I hit send at 8:47 p.m., then immediately forwarded the message to Jake with a note, bait deployed. Monitor her activity. Sarah's response came back in under 2 minutes, oh that's so exciting. Murphy's has amazing cocktails. Just remember what I said about not oversharing on first dates. Guys like mystery. Even now, she couldn't help herself. Still managing my behavior, still undermining my confidence. I screenshotted her response and sent it to Ryan with a message, she took the bait. See you tomorrow at Riverside Brewing instead. Jake called me at 11:23 p.m. Houston, we have movement. Sarah just spent 45 minutes researching rock climbing gyms on State Street. She also looked up Murphy's bar's menu, checked their Yelp reviews, and stalked Ryan's Instagram back to 2019. What did she find on his Instagram? Nothing about rock climbing, which is probably driving her crazy. Your boy Ryan is smart, his social media is pretty minimal. Mostly just food pics and group shots with friends. I felt a flutter of appreciation for Ryan's privacy settings. Anything else? Yeah, and this is where it gets interesting. She just ordered an Uber to CVS. My stomach dropped. Another burner phone? That'd be my guess. She's probably planning to have one of your mystery friends reach out tomorrow night while you're on your date. Keep you distracted, maybe create some fake emergency that requires immediate attention. The predictability was almost insulting. For 3 years, I'd fallen for the same pattern, get excited about a guy, receive a crisis text from Jake Marcus Tyler, spend the evening playing therapist instead of focusing on my actual date. Jake, can you track which number she buys? Already on it. I'll monitor all new activations from that CVS location tonight. After we hung up, I found myself pacing my apartment, too wired to sleep. My phone sat on the kitchen counter like a loaded weapon, waiting for Sarah's next move. Part of me wanted to call this whole thing off, just confront her directly, demand answers, try to salvage whatever real friendship might exist under all the manipulation. But then I thought about Rachel Morrison, transferring schools because of harassment that was probably orchestrated by Sarah. I thought about David telling me that Sarah had preemptively painted me as unstable. I thought about Alex, and Josh, and every guy who'd slipped away while I was emotionally occupied with fake friends having fake crises. No. Sarah had made her choices for 3 years. Tomorrow night, I was making mine. At 12:41 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from a new number, 555-0952. Hey, I think you gave me your number at Jake's party last weekend? This is Connor. You mentioned you were starting therapy soon, how's that going? I'd never been to any party with anyone named Connor. But I had mentioned to Sarah last week that I was considering therapy to work through my relationship anxiety that she'd been systematically creating. I screenshotted the message and typed back, sorry, think you have the wrong number. But good luck with whatever you're dealing with. Then I forwarded everything to Jake, she couldn't even wait 24 hours. New number, new fake crisis brewing. His response was immediate, phone purchased at CVS on Maple at 12:15 a.m. Same credit card pattern as the others. She's panicking. Perfect. A panicked Sarah was a sloppy Sarah. And tomorrow night, all that sloppiness was going to catch up with her. I woke up Friday morning to 17 missed calls from Sarah and a string of increasingly frantic texts that made my skin crawl. 2:47 a.m., can't sleep thinking about our fight. Please call me. 3:15 a.m., I know you're probably awake too. We've never gone to bed angry at each other. 4:23 a.m., Emma, I'm really worried about you. This isn't like you to shut me out. 5:31 a.m., are you seriously going to throw away 7 years of friendship over some guy you haven't even met yet? 6:42 a.m., I drove by your apartment. Your car's there but you're not answering. I'm scared something happened. The last message, sent at 7:18 a.m., made my blood freeze, I have a key. I'm coming up to check on you. I bolted upright in bed, heart hammering. Sarah had a spare key from when I'd had food poisoning last year, but the idea of her letting herself into my apartment while I was sleeping felt like a massive violation. I grabbed my phone and called her immediately. Emma. Thank God, I was about to call the police. Her voice was breathless with manufactured panic. Why weren't you answering? I've been worried sick. Because it was the middle of the night, Sarah. Normal people sleep between midnight and 7 a.m. I couldn't sleep knowing you were upset with me. I kept thinking about everything I said wrong yesterday. She was crying now, or at least making crying sounds. I know I messed up, but I can't lose you. You're literally the only real friend I have. The manipulation was so textbook it was almost impressive. Create a crisis, position herself as the victim, make me responsible for her emotional well-being. A week ago, it would have worked. I'd have rushed over to comfort her, probably apologizing for being too harsh. Sarah, I need you to give me back my spare key. What? Why would you, Emma, you're scaring me. This isn't you talking. This is exactly me talking. For the first time in years, actually. I got out of bed and started getting dressed, keeping the phone on speaker. I'll be at work all day, then I have plans tonight. We can talk this weekend. Plans with Ryan? Her voice turned sharp. Emma, please don't use some random guy to punish me. You don't even know him. I know enough. I was pulling on jeans, trying to keep my voice level. He seems honest. That's refreshing. Honest? You've had one conversation with him. How could you possibly know if he's honest? Because he didn't spend 3 years lying to me, I wanted to scream. Because when I told him an insane story about digital manipulation, he believed me instead of gaslighting me. Because he offered to help instead of making it about himself. I have to go, Sarah. I'll call you this weekend. Wait, don't hang up. What time is your date tonight? I'm worried about you meeting some stranger at a bar. What if he's not who he says he is online? The irony was suffocating. I'll be fine. At least text me when you get there safely. And when you leave? I know you think I'm being overprotective, but Murphy's bar gets really crowded on Friday nights. Easy to lose track of people. She was fishing for confirmation about the location, probably already planning her own arrival time. Sure, I'll check in. After I hung up, I immediately called Jake. Emergency situation. Sarah tried to let herself into my apartment this morning using a spare key. Jesus. She's completely spiraling. I could hear him typing in the background. Good news though, I've been monitoring the Connor number she texted you from last night. She's drafted about 12 different follow-up messages and deleted all of them. She can't figure out why you're not taking the bait. What do the drafts say? Everything from fake family emergencies to made-up relationship advice. Oh, and here's the kicker, she Googled how to make someone cancel a date at 4 a.m. I had to laugh despite everything. She actually Googled that? Screenshot saved for evidence. But Emma, I'm concerned about tonight. Someone this desperate might do something unpredictable. Maybe you should postpone. Absolutely not. I was pulling into the parking garage at work, my resolve hardening. She's been controlling my life for 3 years. I'm not giving her one more night. Then we stick to the plan, but with backup. I'll be at Murphy's by 6:30, and I'm bringing my roommate Marcus, real Marcus, not Sarah's fake Marcus. If she shows up and things get weird, you'll have witnesses. After work, I went home to get ready for my fake date at Murphy's, or rather, my real date at Riverside Brewing. I chose my outfit carefully, the blue dress that made me feel confident, the boots Sarah always said were trying too hard. For 3 years, I'd unconsciously avoided clothes she didn't approve of. Tonight, I was wearing everything she'd ever criticized. At 6:15 p.m., I got a text from the Connor number. Hey, know this is weird timing, but I really need someone to talk to. My dad's in the hospital and I don't know what to do. You seem like someone who'd understand family stuff. I stared at the message, marveling at how well Sarah knew my weak spots. Family emergencies, people in crisis, anyone who needed help. She'd spent 3 years programming me to drop everything for others' needs. I screenshotted it and typed back, "I'm so sorry, Connor, but you definitely have the wrong number. Hope your dad is okay though." Then I turned off my phone, grabbed my keys, and headed out to take back my life. The last thing I saw before leaving was Sarah's car parked across the street from my building, windows tinted too dark to see inside. She was watching, waiting to see which direction I'd go. Perfect. Let her follow me to Murphy's bar and wait all night for a date that would never happen. I had somewhere else to be. I drove to Murphy's bar first, just to sell the illusion. Sarah's car followed me at a careful distance. She wasn't even trying to be subtle anymore. I parked across the street, walked inside, ordered a Diet Coke, and sat at the bar scrolling my phone for exactly 12 minutes. Long enough for Sarah to see me through the windows and assume I was waiting for Ryan. Then I excused myself to the bathroom, slipped out the back exit, and called an Uber to Riverside Brewing. Ryan was already waiting in a corner booth when I arrived at 7:23 p.m., nursing a beer and reading something on his tablet. He looked up when I approached, and his smile was genuine, no calculation behind it, no agenda I couldn't see. "How do I look?" I asked, sliding into the booth across from him. "Like someone worth stalking across town for?" "You look like someone who's about to enjoy watching karma work." He raised his beer in a mock toast. "Jake texted me 20 minutes ago. Your friend took the bait. She's at Murphy's bar right now, sitting 2 tables away from him." My phone buzzed with a message from Jake, target acquired. Subject arrived 7:05 p.m., ordered whiskey sour, keeps checking entrance. She's wearing a red dress and definitely put effort into her appearance. Also keep checking her phone. I showed Ryan the text. She got dressed up to steal my date. Again. What's her usual approach? Depends on what she learned about the guy. With David, she pretended to need help with her car in the gym parking lot. With Josh, she showed up at trivia night and asked to join his team because she was there alone. I opened my notes app where I documented her patterns. She always has a reason to start talking that makes her seem vulnerable but not desperate. Ryan's phone dinged with a notification. Speaking of which, he showed me his Instagram. Someone had liked 4 of his photos in the past 10 minutes, all pictures that showed his face clearly. Sarachan_24? That's her. I watched her digital footprints in real time. She's studying your face so she'll recognize you when you walk in. Which I never will. Ryan flagged our server. What's good here? I figure we might as well have an actual date while your psychotic friend sits alone across town. I was scanning the menu when my phone rang. Sarah calling. I should answer this, I told Ryan. She'll get suspicious if I don't. Emma? Hey, how's your date going? Sarah's voice was artificially bright, but I could hear the strain underneath. Really well, actually. Ryan's running a few minutes late, but I'm enjoying the atmosphere here. I made my voice slightly dreamy, like someone in the early stages of infatuation. He texted that he's just finishing up at the climbing gym. That's great. You sound happy. I could practically hear her scanning Murphy's bar for any sign of an outdoorsy software engineer. What are you drinking? This amazing lavender gin cocktail. Ryan recommended it, apparently he's been here before. Complete fabrication, but Sarah was taking notes. Oh, and the weirdest thing happened. Some guy named Connor has been texting me all day thinking I'm someone else. Kept asking about therapy stuff? I finally had to block the number. The silence on Sarah's end lasted exactly 4 seconds too long. Connor? Weird. Probably a wrong number. Definitely. Anyway, I should go. I think I see Ryan coming in now. I glanced at Ryan, who was grinning at my performance. He looks even better than his photos. Have fun, be safe, text me later. She hung up fast, probably rushing to position herself for the perfect accidental encounter. Ryan was shaking his head in amazement. She's really sitting there right now, waiting to intercept me? Give it 10 more minutes. When Ryan doesn't show up, she'll probably text me asking if everything's okay, offering to come pick me up because she's worried. I raised my own beer. But for now, let's just enjoy the fact that somewhere across town, Sarah Chen is having the worst Friday night of her manipulative life. As if on cue, Jake sent another update. She just checked her watch for the 5th time and ordered a second drink. This is beautiful. Ryan and I were deep into conversation about his actual job, cloud security, not rock climbing, when my phone started buzzing incessantly. First Jake, then Sarah, then Jake again. Jake's calling, I told Ryan, answering on speaker since we were in a quiet corner. Emma, we have a problem. Jake's voice was tight with urgency. Sarah just left Murphy's bar, but she's not going home. She's driving toward Riverside Brewing. My blood turned to ice. How could she possibly know we're here? I don't know, but she's 3 blocks away. You need to move, now. Ryan was already standing, throwing cash on the table. Back exit? I grabbed my purse, mind racing. Wait, Jake, is she alone? Yeah, why? Because Sarah doesn't know what Ryan looks like in person. She's only seen his photos. A plan was forming. What if we don't run? What if we let her find us? Ryan stared at me like I'd lost my mind. You want to confront her? Not confront. Catch her. I pulled up Sarah's Instagram on my phone, showing Ryan her most recent selfie. She's going to walk in here looking for a guy to manipulate. But what if that guy is ready for her? Jake's voice crackled through the phone. Emma, what are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time to flip the script completely. I looked at Ryan. Are you up for some improv? Because I want to give Sarah exactly what she's looking for, a confused, vulnerable guy who doesn't understand why his date stood him up. Understanding dawned in Ryan's eyes. You want me to let her approach me? I want you to be the perfect mark. Disappointed, a little drunk, totally bewildered about why Emma hasn't shown up. I was talking fast, adrenaline surging. Jake, stay on the line. I need you to record everything when she walks in. Where will you be? Bathroom. Hidden. Watching her work. I was already moving toward the back of the restaurant. Ryan, give me your phone. What? Trust me. When she starts talking to you, I want you to seem really confused about something on your dating app. Like maybe your date got her wires crossed about the location. Ryan handed over his phone as I ducked into the single-stall bathroom, leaving the door cracked just enough to see our booth. Jake, how close is she? Parking now. Black Honda Civic. My heart was hammering as I watched Ryan settle back into the booth, messing up his hair slightly and adopting the slouched posture of someone who'd been waiting too long. He was actually a pretty good actor. She's walking in, Jake whispered through the phone. Red dress, scanning the room. She looks determined. Through the bathroom door crack, I watched Sarah enter Riverside Brewing. She paused near the hostess station, eyes sweeping the space until they landed on Ryan sitting alone at our booth. Her face lit up with what looked like genuine surprise, but I knew better. She approached slowly, timing it perfectly. Not too eager, not too obvious. Excuse me, I heard her say, her voice carrying that perfect note of hesitant concern. I'm sorry to bother you, but you look like you might be waiting for someone? I only ask because you seem a little. I don't know, frustrated? Ryan looked up with confused eyes. Yeah, actually. I'm supposed to be meeting someone, but. He gestured helplessly at his phone. I think there might have been a miscommunication about where. Oh no. That's the worst. Sarah's sympathy sounded so genuine that even I almost believed it. Dating apps? Hinge. We were supposed to meet at 7, but she said Murphy's Bar and I thought she meant this place. Ryan was improvising beautifully. Her name's Emma? Blonde, works in marketing? You don't happen to know if there's another Murphy's around here? I watched Sarah's face carefully. The moment Ryan said my name, something flickered in her expression, too quick for him to catch, but I saw it. Pure satisfaction. Emma? Sarah's voice pitched with perfectly calculated surprise. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Sarah slid into the booth across from Ryan without being invited, her eyes bright with fake concern. I can't believe this, Emma's one of my closest friends. She texted me earlier saying she was so excited about tonight. I pressed myself against the bathroom wall, phone clutched to my ear as Jake whispered a play-by-play from Murphy's Bar. She's really going for it. Full performance mode. Ryan played his part perfectly, looking genuinely confused. Wait, you know Emma? Small world. But I'm so lost right now. She definitely said Murphy's Bar at 7, and when I got there, the bartender said no one matching her description had come in asking for me. Oh honey, that's because she's probably still there waiting. Sarah's voice dripped with helpful concern. Murphy's Bar is on State Street, not Park Avenue. This place gets confused with it all the time. She pulled out her phone with theatrical urgency. Let me call her right now and sort this out. My blood ran cold as I watched her dial my actual number. My phone started buzzing in my hand, I'd forgotten to silence it. I quickly declined the call, but not before Ryan heard it ring from inside the bathroom. His eyes flicked toward the sound for just a fraction of a second, but Sarah was too focused on her performance to notice. Weird, it went straight to voicemail. Sarah frowned at her phone. She's probably in a dead zone or something. Murphy's has terrible reception in the back booths. Another lie delivered with complete confidence. But seriously, don't give up on her yet. Emma's amazing, she's just probably freaking out right now thinking you stood her up. Should I drive over there? Ryan asked, and I could hear the slight edge in his voice that suggested he was enjoying this more than he should be. Actually, Sarah said, and I saw her shift into predator mode, why don't I call an Uber for you? I was about to head home anyway, and State Street is right on my way. I could give you a ride and make sure you two find each other. The audacity was breathtaking. She was literally offering to drive my date to where she thought I was waiting, probably planning to discover that I'd already left in frustration. That's incredibly nice of you, Ryan said slowly. But we just met, and I'd feel weird about. Oh please, any friend of Emma's is a friend of mine. Plus, I feel partially responsible, I should have warned her that people mix up those two bars all the time. Sarah was already standing, gathering her purse. Come on, worst case scenario, we grab drinks together while we wait for her to show up. Jake's voice crackled through my phone, Emma, she just paid her tab at Murphy's using the same credit card from the burner phone purchases. I got a photo of the receipt. This was it, the moment where Sarah would lead Ryan away and I'd lose my chance to expose her in real time. But as Ryan stood to follow her, he made a show of checking his phone one more time. Actually, let me just try texting Emma first. He started typing something. Maybe she can clarify which Murphy she meant. Sure, but reception here really is awful, Sarah said quickly. Probably better to just drive over and figure it out in person. I watched Ryan hit send on his message, and immediately my phone buzzed with a text. Should I go with her or bail? Sarah heard the notification too this time. Her head turned toward the bathroom, eyes narrowing slightly. Did you hear that? She asked Ryan. Sounded like a phone. Probably the kitchen, Ryan said smoothly. So about that ride. But Sarah was already walking toward the back of the restaurant, her friendly demeanor shifting into something sharper. Actually, she called over her shoulder, let me just use the restroom first. The bathroom door swung open and Sarah stood frozen in the doorway, staring at me crouched behind the sink with my phone pressed to my ear. For exactly 3 seconds, neither of us moved. Then her mask slipped completely. You manipulative little bitch, she whispered, her voice stripped of all pretense. You set me up. The way you've been setting me up for 3 years? I stood slowly, keeping my phone on speaker so Jake could hear everything. Ryan, you getting all this? Every word, Ryan called from the booth. Jake, please tell me you're recording. Already sent the audio file to my secure server, Jake's voice crackled through the phone. Sarah Chan, you've been catfishing Emma using burner phones purchased at CVS on Maple Street. Want to explain that to the nice people at Riverside Brewing? Sarah's face went white. Emma, we can work this out. Just the two of us. Like we worked out your fake Connor crisis tonight? Or your fake Jake emergency 3 years ago? I pushed past her toward the main restaurant. No more private conversations, Sarah. You've lost that privilege. The restaurant had gotten busier during our bathroom showdown, but Ryan had managed to flag down the manager, a tired-looking woman in her 40s who clearly wasn't paid enough for whatever was about to happen. Ma'am, Ryan said politely, we have a situation involving digital harassment and stalking. Would it be possible to call the police? The police? Sarah's voice pitched high with panic. Emma, you're being insane. I made some mistakes, but this isn't criminal. Purchasing 4 burner phones to systematically manipulate someone's emotional state and sabotage their relationships? Jake's voice rang out from my phone speaker, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. That's harassment, intimidation, and possibly fraud depending on how you obtained the numbers. I pulled up my photos, showing the manager screenshots of the fake conversations while other customers started staring. This woman has been impersonating different men for 3 years, gathering personal information about my dating life, and using it to steal every guy I've shown interest in. The manager's eyes widened as she scrolled through the evidence. Jesus. Yeah, I'm calling this in. Sarah made a desperate lunge for my phone. Delete those. Emma, I'm begging you. Ryan caught her wrist before she could grab it. I wouldn't do that. We have witnesses now, and assault won't help your case. My case? Sarah's laugh was bordering on hysterical. What case? Emma, tell them this is just a misunderstanding between friends. Friends don't catfish each other for 3 years, I said, loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear. Friends don't sabotage each other's relationships. Friends don't manipulate each other's emotions for sport. The police arrived 14 minutes later, 2 officers who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else until I showed them Jake's digital evidence. Phone records, metadata, purchase receipts, location data, 3 years of systematic psychological manipulation laid out in spreadsheets and screenshots. Miss Chen, Officer Martinez said, reviewing Jake's report on his tablet, you're looking at charges of harassment, cyberstalking, and identity fraud. These text conversations show deliberate emotional manipulation using false identities. Sarah was crying now, real tears instead of her usual performance. Emma, please. You're destroying my life over some stupid texts. I never physically hurt you. You isolated me for 3 years, I said, feeling 3 years of suppressed anger finally surface. You made me think I was broken, that I couldn't maintain relationships, that something was fundamentally wrong with me. You stole my confidence, my dates, and my ability to trust my own judgment. Officer Martinez was handcuffing Sarah as she continued pleading. Emma, I love you. Everything I did was because I couldn't bear losing you. Love doesn't manipulate, Ryan said quietly. Love doesn't deceive. As they led Sarah away, she screamed over her shoulder, you'll never find anyone who cares about you as much as I do. I watched the police car disappear into Friday night traffic, feeling something I hadn't experienced in 3 years, complete, uncomplicated relief. Ryan touched my shoulder gently. You okay? I will be. I turned to face him, this stranger who'd helped me reclaim my life. So, about that actual first date we were supposed to be having. He smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen directed at me in longer than I could remember. I'd love to start over. Hi, I'm Ryan. I work in cloud security, I hate hiking, and I've never owned rock climbing equipment in my life. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. Hi, I'm Emma. I work in marketing, I have terrible taste in best friends, but I'm working on that. Good, he said, signaling our server for another round. Because I'd like to get to know the real Emma. The one who isn't being manipulated by burner phone texts. 3 months later, Sarah pled guilty to cyberstalking charges and was sentenced to 18 months probation plus mandatory therapy. Her Instagram showed her moving back in with her parents in Ohio. Ryan and I had our actual first date the following Saturday. Then a second, third, and fourth. He never tried to manage my emotions or control my responses. When I told him about my day, he didn't immediately have a crisis that required my attention. When I felt happy, he didn't find ways to undermine it. It took me weeks to stop checking my phone obsessively, waiting for fake wrong numbers that never came. But eventually, I learned to trust the silence. The wrong number texting me for years really had been my best friend's burner. And now, finally, it was over.